Hi everyone! Welcome to another video about printmaking. I'm at the Art Gallery of Hamilton in the studio, lucky me. And my name is Nancy Benoy, artist and art educator. Last video, I talked about kind of briefly what is printmaking and how you can just find things in your home to print with, like the fork. Where's my fork? Right? A lid of a marker, maybe just a kitchen sponge, whatever you have, and different mediums you can use to print with, from paint to watercolor to even food coloring. So now we are going to be creating our own stamps, right? I mean, you can buy a stamp at the shops that's pre-made. There's tons out there. You know, this one has a lovely little bee on it, and you can see it's already carved out. So there's a plethora of things that you can purchase, but it is super satisfying to make your own. So what you'll need is some styrofoam. So maybe you have some leftover styrofoam, maybe you bought some thing from the grocery store like cheese slices, or I'm not sure, whatever you have. Keep those, wash them out really well, make sure they're really dry. This is really important, is just to make sure that that foam is really dry. And sometimes those have a little lip on them, right? Like the little trays, just cut that off so it's flat like this, right? You want it nice and flat. You don't want a lip on that. So I have some scratch foam. This is what this is called. This is an art material that you can purchase, probably online, that I'll be using this. But foam from the grocery store or anywhere works as well, works great. Maybe you'll find something else too in your home, like even like some building supplies. Sometimes there's foam you can use. Yeah, just have a little poke around, see what you can find. So essentially you are carving an image and you're going to be seeing that image. How do I explain this? I'm just gonna do it for you actually. Trying to just explain it, it's much easier to do it. So I am gonna take this piece of foam. I'm also gonna take this paper, which is like a draft paper. Sometimes I'm not sure what I want to draw, so I'm just going to draw something now. Just remember that when you're carving into your foam, it's going to expand a little bit. So even if you have a pencil and it's quite thin, if you're drawing something very tiny, just the nature of the foam, it will be a little bit wider. So just sort of think about that. I'm going to just do some abstract lines. If in doubt, do some swirls and lines. That's what I say. Fill up my page with some lines. Very simple, right? Just some lines here. Now I'm going to take my foam and I'm going to copy this idea. One way to copy it is just look at what I've done and just draw it over here, right? Another way is to take this piece of paper, my little draft paper, and put it on top. And then I'm going to hold it and just sort of follow those lines, pressing a little bit firmly with my pencil. It's okay if you break your paper, it's no big deal, right? I also find that using your pencil sort of on an angle really helps to sort of flow when you're carving. If you have it up and down perpendicular, it just gets a little bit stuck in the foam. And so this, I just find it glides a little bit easier. Also, try to dull your pencil. If it's super, super sharp, it's hard also for it to flow. So I'm just pushing down, I'm following these lines. Also, if you make an idea and then you don't love it, just make a new one, right? It's your art. You need to be happy with it, right? That's what I think. So I'm just doing this swirly little idea here. So I'm gonna lift up this little draft paper now, and you'll see my lines. I want to make sure my lines are nice and deep though, because the ink or whatever medium I'm putting on top is quite thick and it loves to go inside those lines. And the whole idea is we don't want anything inside those lines. We want that to be the negative space so we see the image. So I simply just press it again. You can make it wider. Also, as you're doing this, maybe you want to add some more. Maybe you think, there's a lot of negative space in this. I want to fill it up with some ideas. Or maybe you just want to keep it nice and simple, right? I'm going to draw a little heart in here because I heart printmaking. It's like a little balloon. There we go. Right, So here's my little image. If you happen to have printmaking ink, this is printmaking ink. This is by Speedball, but there's different companies. It's like block print ink. It's really thick. Are you ready? Look at this. Ooh, magic. Don't try that at home. So this is really cool and really thick. And I'm just going to show you how you would use this. I like to get a little knife here, a little plastic palette knife. I'm putting it on a surface. So maybe you have some tin foil you can spread out, or maybe you have like a plastic placemat. Those are really handy to use as well. And I'm going to get this tool. I know not everyone has this tool, but I really wanted to show you this way just so that you know and hopefully get you excited about it and you can source some of this. I'm taking this tool, which is called a brayer, and I'm rolling out my ink, right? Rolling it out. Super satisfying. Just the process of this too is such a satisfying activity, you know, love it. Getting that nice and even, right? You kind of want it a little bit bubbly. We never want to do this. See how I'm pushing this down? It leaves sort of bumps on here. We want this to be nice and flat and even, like you're painting a wall, right? You don't want a bunch of paint on one side of your roller. Then I'm going to take this and roll this on. Now you know if you're putting this on and you can't see your lines, what happened? What didn't really work out? Maybe your lines weren't deep enough, right? So you just think about that. The great thing about this printmaking ink is it does wash off, and all you need is just water. You can wash it off. If you happen to have this printmaking ink, make sure it's really dry before you put this ink back on. And this is just a one color print. Of course, you can expand and add more color. But for now, we'll just keep it simple, simple and satisfying. I'm going to take my piece of paper. I'm going to take my plate, right? We call it a printing plate. And I'm going to put it in the middle of my paper. If I didn't put it in the middle, what would happen if I kind of moved it over a little bit while it was on here? Would that be a good idea? I don't think so. It would smush a little bit. So I just have to love where it lands, right? It's landing right here in the middle. It's perfect. Then I like to flip both pieces over, and this is really sticky, this ink. So I'll flip it over. Already I can see my lines, which is exciting. And I'm just going to use my hands. Some people use another brayer, but I don't have to right now. So I'm just going to use my hands, right? Give your fingers a little massage. Getting all those corners and edges. And then the peel and reveal, which is really, really fun. Woo! There we go. And there's my little print. You can print this again over and over and over, so you have repeat prints. You can wash it off, try a different color. And you can see when something gets printed, pick that up again, things are printed on the opposite side, right? So the heart is on an opposite side. It's on the left-hand side on my print, and on my plate, it's on the right-hand side. So that's something to think about when you're drawing something. Everything gets printed in reverse. Okay, so I have this little simple sort of flower idea that I'm going to do with acrylic paint. Maybe you have acrylic paint at home. So I'm going to take some acrylic. I'm just going to spread it out here, and I'm going to use a sponge and sponge that on, right? Sponge that on. It's all trial and error to this. That's what's the fun of art, I think. Especially things like this. It's really process-based. So I put that on. I'm going to get my piece of paper, and this is just regular like copy paper, right? It's just nice and thin paper. I'm going to put that on top and see what happens. The acrylic acts a little bit differently. It might sort of go inside those lines, but then I always think that is such a great background for exploring something else with that image, right? So let's just see. Just to show you how it looks. Looks a little bit different. Ooh, it's quite soft. So you can see this one turned out a little bit softer, And this is just such a great way to learn a technique. It's just trial and error. So maybe I think, I don't love this one. Maybe I'll like toss it in the bin. Don't do that. Hang on to it. When this dries, you could go in with a marker or pastels and sort of fill in those spaces, right? So you have this lovely sort of soft background that you can just explore later, right? So that is printmaking with a foam. A little foam plate, foam plates too from the dollar store. Get those, make sure to cut them out so it's nice and flat. If you don't have a brayer, that's okay. You can try a sponge, you can try acrylic, and just have a go with it. It's really fun to experiment. And then two color as well. You could wash this off, you could try a different color, see what that looks like. Give it a go. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next video.